see how the cases have already been given.
Start the session now.
As of yesterday, the total number of 33,478 confirmed cases, 152 deaths, and over 24,000 recovered and discharged. Now, when it comes to the impacts, as all of you know, there are health impacts, economic impacts, and also social impacts. Nevertheless, government of Sri Lanka approach to combating COVID-19,
You can start.
I would like to draw your attention to some of the salient features which we have identified.
Yeah. Hello.
Yes.
Can you start sir, now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can hear you.
There was some stringent.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I am Asiri Karunarathna, Director General of National Building Research in Sri Lanka. So, good evening from Sri Lanka and good morning, good afternoon. I think I am the chair of this session. The theme of the session is the nature-based solution for resilient future. So I would like to warmly welcome all keynote speakers, panel members, and all participants join. This session, I think, will continue about 1.5 hours time. As you know, the climate change is a major threat to the sustainability of the global ecosystem. On the other hand, it can influence the risk of environment in any country to a substantial extent, as hydrometeorological events are directly associated with weather changes, climate variation, etc. Due to the distinct climate variability observed across Asia, majority of countries of the region are subject to climate change effect, including exposure to extreme hazard events such as flood, drought, landslide, cyclone, etc. Additionally, anthropogenic intervention have resulted in degradation of natural ecosystem, resulting in reduced resilience to shocks and stresses. Some of the natural resources seem to be getting exploited beyond their regenerative capacity. The effect of these changes is likely to aggravate in the least developed and developing economy in the region due to their low coping capacity and lack of awareness of these issues. Under this circumstance, it is a timely important task to discuss about this nature-based solution for a resilient future. What do you mean by the nature-based solution? Nature-based solutions are defined by IUCN as action to protect, sustainably manage, and restore natural or modified ecosystem that address societal changes effectively and adaptively, simultaneously providing human well-being, biodiversity benefits. Under the above definition, nature-based solution can be considered as a promising intervention enhancing adaptive capacity, as they provide vital links between sustainable socio-economic development, biodiversity, ecosystem conservation to achieve the climate resilience. So under the above circumstance, it is a timely needed task to discuss about the important of nature-based solution. I think in this session, we have a keynote speaker and 5 panelists. So I think under this subject, I would like to thank first the conference organizers, University of Huddersfield, UK, Disaster Management Center, Sri Lanka, University of Moratuwa, and Asian Disaster Preparedness Center for providing opportunity for sharing evidence from the field and exposure strategies to mainstream nature-based solution into climate resilient narrative policies and action through these panel sessions. In Sri Lanka, as you know, we have carried out very recently one project using the nature-based solution, because in Sri Lanka, I think we always mostly believe or we had the confidence in a structural solution, but later we realized with the frequency of natural disaster occurrence, it is very important to see the possibility of incorporating this nature-based solution for mitigating disasters. So under this circumstance, we carried out one project, and rightly, I think would like to share this output in this presentation. In this current session, we aim to discuss the various approaches to achieve the climate resilience applying various nature-based solutions with the following objective. Objective 1, sharing of evidence of effective nature-based solution. Example, ecosystem-based disaster risk reduction, ecosystem-based adaptation, ecological restorations, climate risk management and climate adaptation services, green infrastructure, etc. To address global challenges of climate change, disaster risk, food waste security, and economic and social development in countries in the region. Objective 2, relating to the evidence of nature-based to the policy decisions at national scale to ensure effectiveness through the tool and methods to support planning, implementation, as well as the monitoring and evaluation. Object 3, strategy to scale up nature-based by linking science, practices, and policy opportunities and challenges, both institutional and financial. So I would like to start the session. I would like to introduce the keynote speakers and the panel members. So the keynote speak will done by the Dr. Ananda Mallawatantri, and then we have the Ms. Priyanka Dissanayake, the disaster risk management specialist from the World Bank, Sri Lanka. Speaker 3 will be Mr. Susith Arambepola, the team leader of nature-based solution for landslide risk management project ADPC Sri Lanka. The fourth speaker will be Dr. Udeni Nawagamuwa, Senior Lecturer, University of Moratuwa, Consultant to ADPC Sri Lanka. Our fifth speaker is the Dr. Anurudda Karunarathna, Senior Lecturer, University of Peradeniya and Consultant to ADPC Sri Lanka. And our sixth speaker is the Professor Champa Nawarathna, the Team Leader, Building Resilience in Tropical Agro-Ecosystem Project, University of Ruhuna, Sri Lanka. So these are our panelists. So I would like to invite now Dr. Ananda Mallawatantri, the country representative IUCN Sri Lanka, to deliver his keynote speak. Over to Dr. Ananda.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Chair Dr. Asiri Karunarathna, Director General of National Building Research Organization of Sri Lanka. My panel colleagues, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to join again and talk about the nature-based solutions, mostly in the experience sharing aspect. Today we will talk again about the value of NBS and then a few examples where the adoption of nature-based solutions or green infrastructure was used around the world. And also we will talk a little bit about what are the few important factors that are required to make the nature-based solutions adoption successful. Societal changes, it's a buzzword today. And the good side of it and the advantage of that is we can lump most of the challenges that we discuss around into one basket. Now we can see it's a series of things, but not limited to climate change, disaster risk reduction, economic poverty, health, food security, water security, environmental degradation. So all these can be brought in as the societal challenges. And then on top of that, we can start planning and then seeing how the nature-based solutions, so NBS, can be adopted. The definition for the nature-based solutions is provided by IUCN and widely accepted around the world, is the action to protect, sustainably manage, and restore natural or modified ecosystems that address societal challenges effectively and adaptively. Adaptively means we can change when the things are not working well, and we can adapt to the situation, and simultaneously providing human well-being and biodiversity benefits. So it's very clear that it's not only climate change, it has much more broader emphasis. When it comes to ecosystems, there are multiple types of ecosystems, and the problems in each ecosystems also can vary, as well as the approaches, the technologies, the knowledge, and also the beneficiaries or the stakeholders that we will be working. And there are a number of countries started adopting nature-based solutions to reduce disaster risk and to gain many other benefits that we talked. So there are different terrestrial forest, coastal systems, river systems, agriculture practices. Like that, the nature-based solutions had been adopted. And it's not a surprise, the forest, coastal areas, and rivers, they have the highest amount of potential for nature-based solution. And we will discuss few examples specifically on how the nature-based solutions can be augmented to or complemented with the engineering designs. So this is one example from United Kingdom, where the levee structure was realigned to allow more water to come into the land, and the wetland structure had been expanded so that the flooding and the other hazards in that area was mitigated to a great extent, while getting the biodiversity and other benefits associated with nature. These two examples, the one on the left is from Nepal. It's to use the assisted natural regeneration, meaning you encourage the earlier vegetations to come back in the same place. And in that process, sometimes people use engineering measures and also intensive efforts to allow the natural vegetation to come back. That also include like removing the invasive species and also promoting certain practices that will allow the nature to take over. The one on the right is from the Mozambique. It is the need to adapt both engineering and NBS together, because the impact of the climate or the human impact is so severe, it cannot regenerate by itself. So it's a good example of adapting nature. Then the next example is from Italy. It's an extensive use of nature-based knowledge as well as engineering to prevent the stormwater, polluted stormwater flowing into a nearby river. So the design went through multiple steps using multi-criteria analysis and also the nature-based analytical hierarchical processes. So you got the wetlands and the ponds and the filtering systems configured in a way that will also support the tourist aspects in the urban area, the recreational aspects, at the same time being responsible for not sending the polluted water into the water system. When you work with the nature-based solution designs, it's very important that you understand it properly, like what the Sendai framework says to us. The one on the right side bottom is the tracking data from elephant movements in certain northwestern provinces in Sri Lanka, where the data was used to find the places where the animals are moving, and then bring the engineering and the nature solutions both to create different aspects. The animals go alone, get into the water and get up, and go pass over the water systems, irrigation channels through the created corridors. Erosion is a huge nature-based solution application area. You can see there are high areas where erosion is high. The shifting cultivation and tobacco, and also areas that are poorly managed tea areas and the degraded grasslands and things like that. At the same time, we can see the dense forest and also home gardens and certain other practices are delivering less soil out of the site. So these kind of things can be used to generate designs, and then, for example, some of the times the reservoirs and the tanks get really filled with silt, and the land use planning can improve in such a way that the tank capacities are there for hydropower, irrigation, and drinking. This is one of the examples where the nature-based solutions are being proposed and used to do the higher elevations, the green cover, so that you can enhance the cloud capture, and then the land use planning to improve the better infiltration, the soil quality, and then reduce erosion and enhance the capacity to hold water in tanks and reservoirs, thereby preventing droughts, floods, and sometimes landslides. So giving more benefits, and then at the same time, aesthetic benefits, the tourism benefits, and also the agriculture produce benefits related to the same type of enhancements, including pollination and other benefits. In Sri Lanka, it's known thousands years ago the kings have adopted the nature-based solution. One example is this northwestern province and the north central province, the tank cascade systems that are prevailing over thousands of years, where the tanks are set up in such a way that one after another in the drainage path, in between you have the cultivations. So it's a one way of, in the same season, recycling water many a times before it's been released to the streams or to the ocean. So this known that the recycling time is about 6 times, so that one water drop get used more than 6 times. There, the nature-based solutions had been successfully practiced over the years. Now, for example, the tree cover here and the tree cover here, tree cover around, don't let the water to evaporate by blocking the wind coming and touching the surface. And also, some of the trees attract ions and reduce the salinity of water, so that paddy lands don't get saline water and ion toxicity and all that. So there are multiple NBAs that have been practiced in this type of cultivations. So we know there are many systems that we have been using. Mangroves is one of the most popular ones, with multiple benefits on storm surges, filtration of silt, and then fish populations, many multiple benefits, along with ecosystem-based risk reduction. The seawalls with the green cover, and also the roadside improvements to prevent landslides and erosion. One important aspect in this adopting nature-based solution is to make sure that we highlight the benefits by monitoring and having the right type of indicators. Now, for example, the nature-based solutions delivers social benefits, environmental benefits, economic benefits, the whole triple bottom line. At the same time, it provides a lot of multiple benefits. So how do you select indicators in such a way that we can count? Because if you can't measure, you can't manage them. So pretty much this load reductions of dissolved organic carbon, maybe fertilizer, pesticides, pathogens, hormones, and all these load reductions associated with the nature-based solutions, and also the social benefits of peak flow reductions, that flood reduction, and also many other benefits in tourism and other aspects. In terms of economics, there are multiple economics: pollination, wood production, power generation, you name it. There are a lot of things that one can improve through nature-based solutions. So it's very important that we measure. On the other hand, how do you finance these nature-based solutions? Government don't fund these nature-based solution aspects all the time, although they do to a certain extent. There are ways you can generate innovative financing, and carbon financing is one of them. But most importantly, there are many more systems emerging using the other benefits in the, as we mentioned as in the indicators, the benefits of wildlife corridors, tourism benefits, fisher benefits, pollination, agriculture benefits, erosion, siltation of tanks and prevention of siltation, all these things. And at the end of the day, we have the drought reduction benefits, flood reduction benefits, landslide prevention benefits. All these things can be counted and then calculated and then bring in as a justifications to nature-based solutions. To assure the quality of the nature-based solution adoption, IUCN this month came with the nature-based solution standards that has a self-assessment tool. Any project or anyone can go and put their own numbers and see how they are doing. In the case of nature-based solutions, it's very important to consider other aspects as well. We discuss all along. So the ecosystem-based disaster risk reduction group is one which we are very familiar, but the other aspects, the biodiversity conservation, then heritage conservation, soil protection, all these things also bring in benefits that we need to quantify and bring it to the policy dimension so that you get the investments properly. And ecosystem assessments and accounting is an area that is picking up very fast, and it allows you to capture the benefits from multiple streams and then accumulate it and bring it to the system of national accounting. We have seen that nature-based solutions is an accepted way to address many societal issues faced by the government to communities. And it helps us to address poverty, climate change, energy, life quality issues. And then mainstreaming NBS is a win-win situation, and it extends beyond the disaster risk reduction. It's important to use the science and technology and also to bring in the sustainable financing, because without sustainable financing, it is not, it's difficult to adapt and have the long-term benefits. And finally, we talked a lot about the partnerships in the Sendai frame of action. In this case, in the NBS, we can strengthen the university practitioner collaborations as one way to adapt NBS and then to push it into the policy domain. So at the end of the day, what we need is the long-term sustainability and resilience. So that's a lot of material, and hope you pick few points as a take home and then work on the nature-based solutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ananda Mallawatantri, for your very excellent keynote lecture. I think it covers all the aspect of our session theme, starting from the use of nature-based solution for the ancient period and its application in the modern context, as well as economic and financial benefits. I think there will be a lot of questions and clarification during the questionnaire time. So with that, I would like to invite our second speaker, Ms. Priyanka Dissanayake. She's the disaster risk management specialist from the World Bank Office, Sri Lanka. Over to Priyanka, please.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Asiri Karunarathna. So I will switch off my video. I hope that you all can hear me well. And my presentation will be shared by our colleagues. Yeah, thank you. So today's for flood and landslide risk management applied in the World Bank operation. So we can go to the next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, this slide gives capital and what are nature-based solutions and what are green infrastructure. Dr. Mallawatantri already mentioned these definitions in his keynote speech. So I'm not going to go into the details of these definitions. But I would highlight that green infrastructure is a subset of nature-based solutions that intentionally and natural system to help produce higher quality, more resilient and lower cost infrastructure services. So this aspect is very important in World Bank infrastructure projects. We can go to the next slide. So next, in the World Bank operations that had used the nature-based solutions, because we have been implementing the nature-based solutions since 2012 in World Bank operations, and we have been implementing the like 120 projects across 60 countries. We have been implementing the nature-based solutions in Sri Lanka and many other places in the world. So if we can go back to that slide, which shows the table where we have given all the examples that are used in nature-based solutions, which is the next slide. To the World Bank operations, because nature-based solutions can adaptive regenerative capacity, and it is local-based solutions. The examples of the green infrastructure solutions that has been used in World Bank operations for water supply, coastal flood management, riverine flood management, stormwater management, a lot of work in the. So in this slide, you also see an example from Sri Lanka that is conserving the enhanced flood controls. The Metro Colombo Urban Development Project has been implemented since 2012. In this picture, you will see the bad-based solutions that was implemented with the Metro Colombo Urban Development Project. So this Metro Colombo Urban Development Project, it uses engineering solutions as well as nature-based solutions, and it has benefited a large number of residents in the Colombo municipal area, and then also like in the suburbs, say Kotte, Dehivela Municipal Council, and so on. These solutions require an integrated approach. So if you go to the next slide, it will show Asian in Colombo and the engineering solutions together. I'm sorry that it takes a bit of a time to move the slides. So next, I would like to highlight on the nature-based landslide risk mitigation work we have been doing. So we can move the slides to the yeah, this is the benefits of the Metro Colombo Urban Development Project, and it has reduced damages to the residential properties and public infrastructure. So if you go to the, we have been implementing land improvement project, which was implemented for the last 6 years. And here we started off with the engineering solutions with NBRO and Road Development Authority. We have stabilized more than 30 unstable slopes, especially during the monsoon. Then we also have landslide mitigation works in 18 schools in Kandy. Improve to the next slide. And with this background, when we looked into the nature-based solutions, the application of nature-based solutions for landslide risk mitigation. From the bank, we have done a lot of work on nature-based solutions for flood mitigation, but there has not been much done for the nature-based solutions for landslide risk mitigation. So we looked into what are the factors, like that trigger landslides. It's very complicated because now there are intense rainfalls. So is season. So weather causes, not only natural causes, there are human-induced features such as land use practices, poor drainage. There are many dimensions that is shaping up the landslide that is happening now, especially in the monsoon season. So we can go to the next slide, and there we realize, so we had been doing this engineering mitigation measures with NBRO, and NBRO was thinking, do we need an integrated approach for this? The engineering measures alone cannot fix this problem. Therefore, with the limited funds available, how can we apply these wider areas, especially the high-risk areas, like evacuation and other measures are practiced by NBRO. So for all the other low risk areas and medium risk areas, what is the solution? So people have to live with the landslides. So then it has to be policy guidelines, practices, and standards, and also things like early warning systems, improving community level landslide preparedness, and developing monitoring and evaluation systems for monitoring vulnerable slopes. Then the risk-informed nature-based solutions, and also hybrid solutions where the nature-based solution reducing the impacts of landslides. And the plant soil water interactions are key to nature-based solutions in landslide risk mitigation. So on the bottom, you see a plant, vetiver plant, which is very widely used in landslide risk mitigation measures. So we can go to the next slide. So with this program for the National Building Research Organization together with Asia Disaster Preparedness Center. So in the next slide, technical assistance program. So the first phase of this project, we did a capacity assessment and what is the capacity needs of NBRO to apply or to learn more about these nature-based solutions. And then in the capacity gap assessment, like that training requirements were identified. Then accordingly, a lot of training programs were done for the engineers, landscape architects, biologists, flora scientists, and all different kinds of expertise are required to apply capacity building. We had the second phase, which is mainly for site-specific design for landslide risk mitigation. And the community capacity building part is also important here, because when it comes to low risk areas, the community themselves have to give the solutions, because as the government or NBRO cannot do mitigation in low-risk areas and all the other areas. Therefore, the community capacity building, including local construction workers, to design and implement these nature-based and hybrid solutions is also important. And one of the main advantages is these measures are low cost compared to conventional engineering measures. So we can go to the next, we are ready with the site-specific designs. Then NBRO wanted to take the ownership, and they have identified a location that is the Lanka Road, that is near Singharaja Forest, as a site where they can apply this nature-based solutions. So it's a newly constructed road. So if you move to the next slide, locations where they can apply this knowledge. So as the bank, we are very happy. The National Agency for Mitigating the Landslide guidance documents, the plant manuals. So they have all the forward how that this will be implemented and how that they can test it on the ground. So we can move to the next slide, please. So here we are listing some of the enabling conditions that are required for nature-based solutions. So the nature-based solutions are very attractive, but these applications are sites. It's important to ensure its performance, ensure the same. Then in Lanka, we have piloted this in Sri Lanka. So we want to see what are the Nepal, Bangladesh, and India, because all these countries are experiencing landslide. Is cooperation to action among many stakeholders and hybrid approaches. Local government agencies, because local government agencies very often, and also in local land use planning, and also in other national plans such as river-based and urban development plans. Then also performance of the nature-based and hybrid mitigation measures has to be demonstrated, because the engineers have to be very confident that this can give the safety required. Then again, support from the community is very important, because at the end of the day, the community can regular inspection. So therefore, their involvement is very much important, and sometimes they also can derive economic benefits. Center will have more details on this. And the low cost can also be beneficial when this is combined with the conventional engineering measures while providing same level of, this is very important. It is very beneficial to bring down the cost, at the same time ensuring the same level of safety. This is my last slide. Thank you very much. So in the next slide, you will have the performance of the nature-based and hybrid mitigation, the global facility for disaster risk reduction, the World Bank agency for disaster risk reduction, and they have a page dedicated for nature. Thank you very much. And I'm happy to hear more from other. Thank you, Dr. Asiri.
Yeah. Thank you, Priyanka. So your interesting presentation, as well as the work carried out with the assistance of the World Bank in the disaster risk reduction. And also, I think it explained how important these nature-based solution against the conventional mitigation work. I think we can discuss more in detail in the discussion session. So with that, I would like to invite our third speaker, Mr. Susith Arambepola. He's a team leader of nature-based solution for landslide risk management project ADPC Sri Lanka, and he will talk on the effectiveness of nature-based solution for ecosystem-based disaster risk reduction in terms of the landslide risk management in Sri Lanka. Over to Mr. Arambepola.
First of all, I would like to thank the conference organizers for allowing us to discuss various applications of nature-based solutions under this panel discussion. I am Susith Arambepola from Asian Disaster Preparedness Center, Thailand. During my short presentation, I used to highlight some of the aspects related to the effectiveness of nature-based solutions for ecosystem-based DRR and CCA in terms of landslide risk management practice in Sri Lanka. Until now, most landslide risk management measures applied in Sri Lanka are involving mainly the conventional engineering practices. These practices are sometimes referred to as hard engineering or grey infrastructure. Although it is not very popular technique in Sri Lanka, many other countries in Asia by now have actively embraced the concept of nature-based solutions or ecosystem-based adaptation practices as a cost-effective measure for landslide risk mitigation. They are also considering the societal and environmental benefit offered by nature-based solutions. No wonder why currently nature-based solutions are emerging as a good alternative or as a complementary practice to traditional grey approaches in mitigating landslide risk. It is because nature-based solutions can be applied in combination with conventional engineering practices or as hybrid technique to enhance the effectiveness in terms of improving the slope stability, ecosystem benefits, improving the overall environmental conditions. In addition, nature-based solutions can help to achieve climate resilience by enhancing adaptive capacity and providing a vital link between sustainable socio-economic development, biodiversity, and ecosystem conservation. The World Bank initiated an analytics and advisory services project in Sri Lanka on nature-based landslide risk management with the primary aim of raising the awareness and deepening the knowledge on the role of nature-based and hybrid solutions for landslide risk management. The overarching goal of the project is to empower the Sri Lankan authorities and to capacitate them for risk-informed decision-making and to plan landslide risk management activities incorporating nature-based solutions to protect the vulnerable communities. The project was implemented in partnership with the National Building Research Organization, the mandated agency for landslide risk management in Sri Lanka. The Asian Disaster Preparedness Center, Thailand, was assigned to provide technical guidance and implementation support. The project was implemented in two phases from March 2018 to June 2019 as phase 1, May 2019 to September 2020 as phase 2. In order to make nature-based solutions a popular practice among the landslide risk management professionals, we felt that it is essential to find answers to a few practical operational problems. Introducing an appropriate process to move from hazard assessment to landslide risk mitigation, utilizing nature-based solutions as a feasible, cost-effective measure was one of the priorities. As you are aware, vegetation constitutes the major component in nature-based landslide risk management practice. The most important characteristics of vegetation for slope stabilization are concerned with mechanical and hydrological properties and processes associated with selected plant species. The primary mechanical effort is the possibility for reinforcement of subsurface soil formations with the help of their root system and provide protection from surface erosion. The main beneficial hydrological effect of vegetation is related to its ability to extract excess water from soil formations. One of the priorities project has carried out extensive research on different characteristics of plant species that can be used in slope stabilization. Developing a plant selection criteria was necessary, and it should be based on characteristics such as root strength, hydrological significance, ecological significance, and economic importance of individual plant species. Such a criteria also can facilitate ranking them according to their suitability for application in nature-based solutions, considering the different microclimate conditions and ecosystem characteristics of landslide-prone districts in Sri Lanka. Project has taken steps in developing a process for site-specific landslide mitigation plan development, incorporating nature-based solutions for creating not only safer, but also more visually acceptable and ecological sustainable slopes. We also have looked for additional benefits and found that there is a possibility for increasing livelihood opportunities for communities while serving as a landslide risk mitigation solution. Project also tried to promote macro-level multiple benefits such as reduction of impact of climate change, increased ecosystem services, and introduction of nature-based solutions as a good conservation practice. Project achievements and findings. When exploring the potential for risk-informed nature-based solutions in mitigating landslide risk, one of the findings is that all types of landslides may not be possible to mitigate through nature-based solutions. But essentially, there are a number of potential application areas. Site-specific landslide mitigation plan development incorporating nature-based solutions was carried out to demonstrate various possible options and application areas such as green solutions, hybrid solutions, and the appropriateness of nature-based solutions in enhancing the appearance of the stabilized soil to make it closer to the natural as possible. As you know, the influence of the vegetation cover expected to grow higher with the increase of the effect of the root system, as it can provide additional reinforcement to subsurface formations. It is seen that when nature-based solutions are applied with conventional engineering measures, it will help in increasing the effectiveness of structural mitigation measures. We could develop 6 mitigation plans incorporating nature-based solutions for sites selected from 5 landslide-prone districts. Project has suggested nature-based solutions to be utilized as a long-term solution for reduction of shallow slopes instabilities, mitigation of slow-moving landslides, and to have macro-level multiple benefits in terms of reduction of climate change impact, increase ecosystem services, promote conservation practices. Nature-based solutions can be applied for rehabilitation of landslide-affected areas or abandoned land due to resettlement of highly vulnerable communities. Project has demonstrated a number of practical community-centered approaches using nature-based solutions for stabilization of vulnerable slopes as a low-cost, simple technology option. This is useful for addressing local level stability issues associated with cutting failures. Nature-based solutions can offer economic benefits as some plant species could create new sources of income for vulnerable local communities. Project has highlighted the usefulness of nature-based solutions for livelihood enhancement and for reducing socioeconomic vulnerability of affected communities. Possibilities also exist for converting nature-based solutions into investment models to attract private sector, working with different industries such as perfume and pharmaceuticals, food and beverages, cosmetics, perfume and toiletries, handcraft making, etc. Development of a guidance document on use of nature-based solutions for site-specific landslide risk mitigation is one of the major outputs of the project. The nature-based and especially hybrid solutions presented in the guidebook are chosen specifically to suit the needs in Sri Lanka and South Asia. The document provides guidance for designing, implementation, and monitoring the effect of nature-based solutions for landslide and erosion risk reduction under a range of physical conditions. Some of them are associated with measures to improve the appearance of slopes mitigated using conventional engineering measures and to help in creating not only stable slopes but also more visually acceptable and ecological sustainable slopes. The findings of the project initiative expect to support the government of Sri Lanka in piloting and potentially scaling up the use of nature-based solutions and especially hybrid solutions for landslide risk management within the country. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Arambepola. You are sharing your experience and project output of the nature-based solutions for Sri Lankan applications. I think as a project partner in BRO, project implementation agency, I think we learned a lot from this project initiative done by the World Bank and the ADPC. So I think this is a kind of milestone in the Sri Lankan disaster risk reduction. So we try to use in future a lot of nature-based application to control the disaster situation in the country. Thank you very much, Mr. Arambepola, giving you excellent presentation. So with that, I would like to invite our next speaker. He's actually now Professor Udeni Nawagamuwa. So senior lecturer of University of Moratuwa, and also consultant of the ADPC. So he will be talking on the process and the challenges in application of nature-based solution for mitigating landslide risks at different scales, opportunities and challenges. Dr. Nawagamuwa, over to you.
I am Udeni Nawagamuwa from University of Moratuwa, a consultant, ADPC. Thank you very much for inviting me to this plenary session on nature-based solutions for managing disaster risks in this international symposium on multi-hazard early warning and disaster risk reduction. My topic today will be on highlighting the process and challenges in application of nature-based solutions for mitigating landslide risk at different scales. I will discuss the opportunities and challenges. The content of my presentation is as follows. The first one will be on the process. Under the process, I will talk about the site selection, data collection and modeling, and the implementation of the project. And later, I will discuss the challenges, opportunities, and the lessons learned from this study. In the process of application of NBS, under the site selection, there are 5 key factors we have to consider. The depth to the failure plane, slope category, of course, in degrees, suitability for creation of vegetation cover, sustainability and maintainability, and the potential damage or probable loss during the operation. As I discussed in the previous slide, there are 5 key factors. One is the depth to failure plane, where we will categorize the depth also into 4. And when you talk about the slope category, again, we categorize that into 4 subcategories. And suitability for creation of vegetation cover, again, we will have another 4 subcategories. Similarly, we have subcategories for sustainability and maintainability, and also for the potential damage and the probable loss. We have marks given for each subcategory, and also depending on the importance, we have used weightage factors. Considering the number of criteria, weight assigned to each criteria, and the marks assigned to each criteria, we have a final score. So this final score is based on a scale of 4, and the site with the highest score against a threshold value of 2 can be considered as suitable for implementation of NBS and hybrid solutions. When we get the final score, if the score is between 4 and 3 or 3 and 4, this means the landslide risk can be mitigated using NBS alone or with some small scale engineering structures. If the scale is between 2 and 3, it can be taken as a hybrid solution. It means a combination of NBS and conventional engineering measures. If it is less than 2, we will say it can be mitigated using large-scale engineering structures, but NBS techniques can be used to control surface erosion and to improve the aesthetic appearance. Considering our criteria, we have selected Badulu Sirigama as a case study. This Badulu Sirigama is in the premises of Uwa University. When we selected Badulu Sirigama, it had a lot of information and data because there was a study done by JICA in 2015, and they have already made a layout plan of slope monitoring instrumentation, and they had proposed several countermeasures in Badulu Sirigama. This area has been divided into 3 zones, Zone 1, Zone 2, and Zone 3, depending on the average gradient in the slope. Then there is a layout plan proposed for the subsurface drainage network, or we call horizontal drains. As you can see in this picture, there are 6 locations shown as subsurface drainage locations. A SWOT analysis was done in this site. We found that this area has enough spring water, and also it is accessible, and the scenic view from this site is very beautiful as strength of the site. And there are several weaknesses. This is a landslide prone area, and also existing landslide mitigation structures are there. And of course, we had to do some soil improvement, and there are some limited tested plants. And the opportunity is this is abandoned site and also close to the village and the university. And the most important opportunity here is this area can be used for research studies of landslides by the Uwa University. The threats are that it is open to everybody. So because of that, a lot of unauthorized access is there, invasion of species can be found, and also there are a lot of other difficulties like high tension lines, waterlogged areas, etc. In our study, we also made 3 zones, as you see here in red colors. It's very similar to the JICA study. In our zones, we used 3 zones into 3 categories. One is a grassland, because we can't load on the top of the hill to avoid landslides. And there is a botanical garden in the middle of the slope. And the third one is a community integration area where the villagers can also have an access to the site. Again, this one explains the 3 zones, Zone 1, Zone 2, and Zone 3 with different activities we have proposed. Now I will move to the theoretical modeling. In this theoretical modeling, we have done several testing of the plant roots and also the tensile strength of plant roots. And there are several findings by different researchers on correlating the tensile strength of the root as an increment in the cohesion of the soil. In the modeling, we did 3 analyses. One is the stability assessment without any mitigative measures. The second one is the stability assessment with engineering measures proposed by JICA. The third one is the effects of combining both engineering and nature-based solutions as a hybrid solution. So this is how we did tensile test of plant roots that was done at University of Peradeniya, and then we have made a correlation of the mean diameter of the plant root with the tensile stresses of these roots. We have allocated properties depending on our borehole records and other informations we have gathered from NBRO, and under this we had an assessment under 3 conditions: without any mitigation, and then with the engineering mitigation, and also the final one with the hybrid solution. This one provides you the factor of safety values under existing conditions, and you can see those are marginally 1. It means it is not safe. This is the analysis done with the engineering measures with horizontal drains proposed by JICA, and you can see the factor of safety is more than 1, it is safe, but then we improved it with our hybrid solution with NBS. When we introduce the nature-based solution, NBS, the properties of soil is changed because the cohesion is improved, and this is the summary table with those properties. So this one gives a comparison between these conditions, the area improved with the engineering measures and with this NBS, that you can see this NBS as a hybrid solution provides a very high safety margin. In this final slide, I am talking about the challenges, the difficulties, and the lessons learned during the study. We know the nature-based solutions cannot be mathematically modeled accurately because there are no data for modeling. We had to do a lot of assumptions. And also we know the real scenario is more beneficial than the estimated one we did. And also we know this has been proven with time, but of course we know there is a reluctance to accept it. We need a dedicated team to bring up the concept to a nationally accepted norm, and to make use of it, we need regular maintenance. It is a must. And also, this practice will be a good income generation for poor. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Dr. Nawagamuwa. Your effort to explain the technical side of the nature-based applications. As you explained, I think we have to do some analysis for the site selections. I think this is very important. In Sri Lanka, I think this is the first time we did some kind of modeling and selection of plant. I think this has to be, we have to go a long way, but this was, I think the achieved result are so far satisfactory. I think I'm sure that there may be some question in the discussion session for this excellent presentation. So with that, I would like to invite our next presenter. Is Dr. Anurudda Karunarathna, a senior lecturer of University of Peradeniya and consultant to ADPC Sri Lanka. Dr. Anurudda will be talking on selection in utilization for nature-based solution for mitigating the landslide risk in Sri Lanka. Dr. Anurudda, over to you.
Very good evening to you all. I am Anurudda Karunarathna from University of Peradeniya. In this brief talk, I would like to discuss a little bit about the new plant selection approach that we propose to use in nature-based solutions for mitigating the landslide risk in Sri Lanka. Application of bioengineering solution is a site-specific process that required good understanding of the technical feasibility as well as operation and maintenance requirement in future. Once the designer decides to go ahead with the bioengineering solution, the next challenge is to select suitable plants for the solution. To assess the plant selection process, we have included a detailed description of the plant selection criteria in this guideline document. Within the given short time, I will try to briefly explain the proposed methodology included in this guideline. The very first step of the approach is to identify different type of plants in the region or in the area. We can use references, guidebooks, or even field studies. After identifying a large number of plants in the given area, the next challenge is to select few or one plants from the identified pool. In this selection or the specific selection process, what we have to do is we have to have an understanding of the qualitative characteristics, and we have to convert these qualitative characteristics to quantitative quantitative scale, where we can make reasonable comparisons and then select the best plants. In this methodology, the core area is the process of converting this qualitative characteristic to quantitative characteristics and making decisions out of the selection process. Next, I'll briefly explain this conversion process through a simple approach. The first step is to decide where we're going to establish the plant, because a region or the slope we can separate into different areas. For example, top of the slope or shear zone, as well as toe of the slope. In use of plants in stabilization, the objectives or else the functions that we expect from the plants to perform in the system differ from place to place. For example, a plant that best match to the top of the slope requires to mesh the soil, control the erosion, as well as increase the evapotranspiration, while plants to be established at the toe of the slope should support the load above the plant system, as well as anchor the soil into the deep layers, soil layers, as well as should be able to withstand waterlogging condition. And having a higher weight or larger weight, it's an advantage for plants to be established at the bottom of the slopes. In addition, many other plant characteristics also determine the survival of plants in this particular section, in particular region. Because this complex nature of plants interaction in different regions, we cannot assess the plant's suitability depends on one characteristic. For example, root architecture will not give a correct picture to select the plants. Because of that, we propose a multi-criteria framework to be adapted for selection. The multi-criteria framework is a simple arithmetic calculation. We refer the plant characteristics and its attributes in the plant manual description, and description says in numbers or else in characteristics, or in words that we can convert into a score value through the score table that we have proposed. In the score table, we can refer particular attribute with respect to the place where we're going to establish, if it is top or middle or toe, and then we calculate what is the score it earned for a given attribute. Then for the 5 characteristics, we calculate the total or the cumulative attribute score, and each attribute will not equally contribute. Each characteristic group will not equally contribute to the purpose that we establish the plant. For example, if it is a middle region of the slope, what we need is a high root strength, good root structure, as well as good plant characteristics that contribute to the soil strengthening. Then we give a higher weightage for those 2 characters, and if we ignore the economic significance, we give a low weightage for the unwanted or less prioritized characteristics. Likewise, we calculate the cumulative score for each characteristics, and then the grand total of the all characteristics. That will be the score earned by particular plant. I'll show you an example of this calculation. The example is if the designer select a shrub type plants and he wants to establish this plant in the middle section of the slope, and the plant characteristic or the plant type and structural characteristics domain, he realized a plant is having 1 to 2 meter depth and medium weight, and plant also make a good ground cover. Then from the scorecard, he can select what is the score earned for the height, what is the score earned for the weight and wind effect, and what is the score earned for soil plant interaction. Then for the plant type and structural characteristics, this plant score 5 cumulative score. Next, for the hydrological significance, the attribute is evapotranspiration. The plants having moderate evapotranspiration, that particular plants having moderate evaporation, then the score is 2. The third criterion is root strength characteristics, explained by 2 attributes, root depth and root type. Referring the scorecard, comparing the characteristic of root VH type and grown down to 2 to 3 meters, then the cumulative score for the root strength characteristics is 7. The fourth criterion is ecological significance of the plant. We can refer the ecological characteristics from the plant description and allocate scores for 3 different attributes: habitat and succession and climate. When we apply the score, we get a score value of 10 for the ecological significance. The fifth criterion is economic significance. Since this plant having low direct benefits and indirect benefits, the plant's score value of 2. In the final step, we calculate the cumulative score for each characteristics, and then we adjust the weighing factor depends on the objectives. Since we are going to establish this plant in the middle region, what we expect is the soil reinforcement, and we neglect the or we give a lower weightage for ecological and economic significance. Then we adjust the weighing factor and get the final score, final cumulative score. Here it's 5.7, and for this plant evaluation, for this particular plant for the middle region, score 5.7. When we do the same process for another plant, it may score another value. But in comparison, the plant that score highest score, we can select as the best plant for a given place. And this process is quite simple, and we are very much happy to further explain this process as well as answer your questions. If you have any question on this, let's discuss during the discussion session. So I conclude my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Anurudda, for your detailed explanation of selection of plant for the landslide risk reduction in the nature-based solution process. So I think with that, I will invite our final speaker, Professor Champa Nawarathna. She's the team leader building resilient in tropical agro-ecosystem project, University of Ruhuna, Sri Lanka, and she'll be talking on the capacity building needs and the associate research for promoting ecosystem-based resilience. Professor, over to you.
Good evening. I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to present research development and capacity building to enhance resilience in tropical agro-ecosystems. Ecosystems play a vital role to withstand adverse climatic vagaries linked to climate change, to protect food security, to buffer socio-economic disturbances linked to disasters. Nevertheless, agroecosystems created by the man with the emergence of agriculture needs a new outlook in terms of sustainability to meet build back better. We need to build resilience to withstand these changing pressures for the continuity of the food production. Ecosystem degradation happens due to climate change impacts and anthropogenic activities, and agroecosystem degradation causes for food insecurity and natural resource depletion. Nature-based solutions are the best option for building resilience in agroecosystem in sustainable manner. Based on the University of Oxford, nature-based solutions are the actions that work with and enhance nature to help address societal challenges. The concept is grounded in the knowledge that healthy, natural, and managed ecosystems produce a diverse range of services on which human well-being depends. Nature-based solutions is an umbrella concept for other established nature-based approaches such as ecosystem-based adaptation and mitigation, eco-disaster risk reduction, green infrastructure, and natural climate solutions. Nature-based approaches or solutions are the only supporter for developing sustainability of the ecosystem against the causes and consequences of climate change and anthropogenic activities. As earlier research indicated, nature-based resilience is an important concept for the operationalization of sustainability and known as a conceptual and modeling structure that facilitates to achieve sustainability goals. Universities play a major role in the field of sustainable development, not only by implementing policy initiatives, but by curriculum greening, conducting researches in the area, conducting further education programs and projects. Building resilience in tropical agroecosystems, or the BRITAE, an Erasmus Plus CBHE project funded by European Union, expects to render a remarkable contribution to build up resilient agroecosystems in the tropical region. BRITAE plans to guarantee that all targeted higher education institutions have the research and innovative capacities to tackle the challenges associated with building resilience in tropical agroecosystem. The proposed BRITAE program provides a platform to apply high-impact research experiences from European Union countries to be embedded in developing countries to the Asian region jointly by the academic institutions. Importance of BRITAE project to Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is prone to disasters such as floods, droughts, landslides, tropical cyclones, and storm surge, which are being worsened due to effect of climate change. As an agricultural country, Sri Lanka loses its crop production due to these disaster occurrences, and especially agroecosystems are damaged, and many economic losses have occurred in Sri Lanka while threatening to the national economy. The proposed curricula offers knowledge on the agroecosystem-based resilience to identify capacity building strategies, research and innovations to reduce disaster risk. The aim of making Sri Lanka a regional educational hub to face the challenges posed by the current globalized environment linked to facility improvement, enhance academic research, and enrich internationalization. The internationalization enhances international cooperation and capacity building while getting advantages of improved quality of teaching and learning and increased international exposure to the students on global issues. The project will come up with an MSc curricula in building resilience in tropical agroecosystems, and the new knowledge creation and dissemination will be triangularized with education, innovation, and research. The BRITAE curricula intends to be developed will usually comprise three main integrated parts: food security, climate change, and integration of food security and climate change. A comprehensive BRITAE framework is developed through the main output of questionnaire survey, literature review, extended literature review, and institutional reports by 5 local partner universities, and roundtable discussion finally. The main findings of the questionnaire survey are: sufficient attention has not been given in the time allocation, credit allocation on ecosystems. Satisfaction rate of existing degree program to fulfill the requirement of agro-ecosystem resilience building is extremely low. Current knowledge on personnel attached to higher education institution and research institutions on current policies is not adequate. Funding is not adequate, and infrastructure facilities are not adequate. The number of professionals in agro-ecosystem resilience attached to higher education institutions and research institutions are also not adequate. Existing state of capacities of Sri Lanka in the field of building resilience in tropical agro-ecosystem. Universities have different study program, courses, modules, and study topics relevant to agro-ecosystem resilience. Government funding is not in a satisfactory level, and at institutional level, lack of professional in the relevant field. The access to the novel educational resources on building resilience in tropical agro-ecosystems. Learning materials are available in Sinhala, Tamil, and English. And online learning materials are available in Sinhala and English, and wide range of software are used for educational purposes. Almost all universities are facilitated with learning management system. Then aim of the BRITAE framework to understand the knowledge gaps in agro-ecosystem-based resilience for joint curriculum development, to identify the baseline capacity and comprehensive gaps in research and innovation in Sri Lanka for the improvement of agro-ecosystem resilience, to identify the baseline capacities of higher education institutions of Sri Lanka for the improvement of agro-ecosystem resilience, to extract and classify the concepts related to tropical agro-ecosystems, building resilience, and higher education in supportive of the joint curriculum development. Key summary points from the detailed report based on the literature review and extended literature review conducted by University of Huddersfield and University of Ruhuna. Agro-ecosystem, climate change, disaster risk reduction, resilience, role of higher education and international policies, challenges, area of improvement. The BRITAE framework consists of 6 key influences. They are higher education, resilience, agro-ecosystems, policy and governance, environment and social. Finally, the main focus should be lie on social ecological resilience, building for ecological, economical and societal sustainable development, considering the nature is central to decision making. After completion of the education program, the students is expected to demonstrate knowledge, skills and understanding, including both broad knowledge in the field and substantially deeper knowledge of certain part of the field, and together with deeper insight into current research and development work to meet societal challenges linked to climate change and food security. This is the disclaimer for BRITAE project, and I take this opportunity to thank University of Huddersfield, UK, for their guidance and working with us to fulfill this part of the project. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Professor Champa Nawarathna, your explanation and your detailed presentation on the University of Huddersfield and University of Ruhuna research work on this important subject. I think we can have many questions in the technical discussions. So I think first I would like to, I think now all the members are here, right? So I would like to have first question or first clarification from Dr. Ananda Mallawatantri. It's very simple. Does nature-based solution shift the nature? So I think very straightforward answer. Or Dr. Mallawatantri?
Well, thanks, Mr. Chairman. I think it's a very good question. Unless you implement the nature-based solutions with science and good monitoring, nature-based solutions can generate unintended negative consequences. So you cannot say nature-based solutions are cheaper and helpful and all that green. At the same time, you need to harness it in a way that you look at nature-based solutions through a science lens. And that's where I think this university ideas, I think it was really impressive when Dr. Nawagamuwa and Dr. Karunarathna mentioned about the research. I think those are the aspects we need to bring to the forefront so that we can evaluate the interventions before you go and install them in the ground. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Mallawatantri. So second question I would like to ask from Ms. Priyanka from World Bank. Ms. Priyanka, is there any accepted criteria to adapt one or other solutions that mean apply gray or green solution in the nature-based solution? I think Ms. Priyanka is not here.
Yeah,
Maybe
as I explained in my
Priyanka, please.
I'm connected. Can I answer the question? Yeah.
Yes, sure. Please go
as
ahead.
I mentioned in my presentation, these applications are more site-specific. Therefore, like depending on the, like the risk level, I would say if it is a deep-seated landslide, so the nature-based solutions alone cannot solve the problem. But if it is a shallow landslide, the nature-based solutions can be applied on its own. So sometimes these two solutions, gray and green, has to be combined for hybrid solutions. So depending on the site, the application is very site specific. Yeah, that's my answer to the question. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's clear. So we have to have kind of studies and investigations, and when we are planning the nature-based application for the disaster risk reduction, especially the landslide mitigation work. There are a lot of questions to the Dr. Anurudda. So we have selected one question. Dr. Anurudda, the question is that here your approach is based towards monoculture, but it would be much beneficial if you simulate agroforestry systems in association of different plant types. What are the existing challenges to go for such approach, Dr. Anurudda?
Mr. Chairman, that's a very interesting and very valid question for someone to use this proposed approach. Yes, I would give a yes and no answer for the time being, because our proposed model the technique target single plant at a given time. But there is a provision in the ecological significance where we incorporate, we can refer the qualitative interaction between different like two plants or in a different consortium, and then convert it into a qualitative value and account in the selection process. And also this sort of schemes we have to improve through the research, where we did not include these vegetation interactions or like multiple selections in this basic criteria. The only provision is where we include the competitiveness or maybe coexistence through the habitat and the ecological significance criteria. So it's partly embedded, but not 100% right at the moment.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Anurudda. So there are many questions from the sustainability of the nature-based solution after its application. So I have selected one question. Maybe Mr. Arambepola can answer this one. The question is that it seems after implementation of nature-based solution, there will be essential follow-up actions for ensuring the performance. How and what post implementation are essential? For example, how do you monitor the performance in terms of the stability improvement over the time? Maybe Mr. Arambepola or Dr. Nawagamuwa, please. I think you can answer these questions. Mr. Arambepola?
Yeah. Of course, yeah, we will have to have a program to monitor the slopes. Especially, we need to have some instrumentation program and monitor the performance in the long run actually. So that way, first we can have the model and then we can see whether in actual conditions we will be able to get the same results or what sort of results we are getting actually. So it's true that we have to have long-term monitoring to establish the level of performance, and once we do it, then we are sure that it is working actually. Usually, with the nature-based solutions, when the passage of the time, when the root system develops, the strength is getting also higher and higher. So therefore, we can use that criteria.
Yeah,
I think Dr. Nawagamuwa also can add because
Dr. Nawagamuwa,
he
can
has
you add
done
something?
some research on it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also agree with Mr. Arambepola about the research or the monitoring for long-term observations, like because there are two aspects in this. One is if you introduce this nature-based solution for a bare land and introduce plants and then observe it, it will take several years. As Mr. Arambepola suggested, that with time the properties will improve and the stability would be better. And also we can do another analysis, like whenever we find a safer slope, we can see the stability of that slope with the present conditions under the vegetation, right? So those are two observations that we can make. Definitely, if we are introducing it for a new location, we need long-term monitoring. And as suggested, that we have done the modeling part, and also we found that there are some deficiencies or the problems in finding the real parameters for modeling. We need to do more research on this, and of course we do with a lot of assumptions, but long-term monitoring would be the real answer for our problems. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Nawagamuwa. So, Professor Champa, Nawarathna, so I just thought of asking this question from you. I think it is true that the academia can actively play an important role, like a project that you described, and it's a good initiative to improve the capacity and produce knowledge domestically and for enhancing the opportunities for sharing research outcome widely. So I would like to know, do you have any plans to open these courses that will be developed under the project to other overseas participants? What type of subject will be included in the planned courses if so?
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Asiri. This course is actually, this project is funded by European Union under Erasmus Plus CBHE project. So here we are developing tropical, building resilience in tropical agro-ecosystems. That means, your first question is, yeah, worldwide they can apply if they are interested on building resilience in tropical agro-ecosystems. All will be invited for following the course, and The other thing, actually, this course content still we are developing. Actually, we have developed with a framework. This is here I presented the only work package 1, what we have completed so far. University of Ruhuna and University of Huddersfield together. Then to prepare this BRITAE framework, we have used four methods. That means stakeholder questionnaire survey, literature survey, and extended literature survey, and finally, we prepared BRITAE framework. There we are going to identify teaching methodologies as well as the curricula. That means subject modules. What are the subject modules? Now we are in the process of identifying subject modules. So within the work package 2, Sabaragamuwa University of Sri Lanka and Central Lancashire University of UK, they are working together to develop that part. So still we are in this process, that means development of BRITAE framework. Here I presented it. There are altogether 7 work packages. So all consortium is 9 universities, 5 from Sri Lanka and 4 from the European Union, including 2 UK universities. I think.
Thank you very much, Professor. So I think since we have running out of time, so final question. I think I will ask from the all the members. So if anybody can answer. So as you know, now in Sri Lanka we have initiated this project, and and we did some research. So what is your thinking about the future direction of these these nature-based application, especially if you want to promote this one, we have to have some kind of simple model that the house owners can apply, and also some design guidelines, and we have to incorporate this into our designs. So I think I would like to get the views of the panelist members, how we can promote this in the day-to-day, day-to-day mitigation work in Sri Lanka as well as the other Asian regions. I think question is open to the panelists, so I appreciate somebody can answer, or jointly you can answer this question.
So Chairman,
I think during the project we have collected a lot of information, and also we have done some research, and we have to continue. So with the purpose of disseminating the information, we have developed the guidance manual, so which is already available in NBRO website and also in ADPC website actually. Here actually we have to see in different applications. One as with hybrid solution with conventional engineering practices, and also it can be applied for bigger areas for conservation purpose, and also it can be applied at household level or community level. This is one of the applications I think which is very important, because at the moment there are a lot of cutting failures happening in at the local level. So we can use this method, because whenever there are conventional methods, the community members will not get any sort of advantage. But here there are also socio-economic aspects in this. The plants that we are using, they will be able to generate some income. For instance, Savandra, vetiver grass, one of the things that we have tested, it has a very good root system, and when you grow in the backyard and also use some clip ball, then in between you can plant vetiver, and vetiver can be used to extract ointment, and also the grass can cut, and also you can use it for handicraft making and things. So if the community will understand the other applications, we can make it popular among the community members. So I suppose that NBRO can take it forward and work with the communities, and you can make it popular among the communities, because this is I think one of the application aspects I see from nature-based solutions when it comes to the landslide risk reduction.
Thank you, Mr. Arambepola. Dr. Ananda Mallawatantri, please give your comments.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I was thinking what's the take-home message today. I think what we saw was we have a lot of knowledge, but they are pretty fractioned in different parts of universities and in the country. I think the classic example is when Anurudda talked about this modeling. My mind went back to the riverbank restoration. I think that also applies to what Udeni mentioned. And then the Champa mentioned about collecting information and knowledge for the benefit of teaching and university work. Now, how do we bring these different parts to one platform? I think this this kind of seminars are good, but I think we can probably start thinking in Sri Lanka to bring a knowledge platform to cover this kind of subjects. And as IUCN, we are really interested in putting that kind of platform together for this subject, because we do have projects that we can apply and allow the scientists to come and test some of these theories as well. So I think in Sri Lanka, we don't have many people. We have very few people who like to stay here and work. So we need to harness the talents of those people and then bring the international knowledge to complement it. So that's what came to my mind, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Yeah, indeed, I think it's a kind of concluding remark. So thank you very much, Dr. Ananda Mallawatantri. So I would like to thank, with that, I would like to conclude this session. So I would like to thank our distinguished panelists for their excellent presentations. I believe what they have presented will give us a glimpse of ongoing research and also initiative that are being taken to share knowledge, create much need awareness and build the capacity. I think, of course, we have in the presentation, there are a lot of material and a lot of messages. In summary, I think nature-based solutions are essential to meet ecosystem-based challenges and addressing the associated risks arising all out effect of climate changes, anthropogenic interventions that have resulted in degradation of natural ecosystem and reduced resilience in the communities. I think this is very, very important, and the need of use of nature-based solution has been emphasized during the presentation. In Sri Lanka, since we have initiated the work, we take it as a challenge, and we will try to promote these nature-based solutions to the Sri Lankan community. As you know, in Sri Lanka, 30% or 20% of the lands are prone to the landslides, and most of the area, I think this area, about 30% people are living this landslide prone area. So structural solutions are not feasible for always, because it is very expensive. So I think there are a lot of application in the nature-based solution. I think we have to promote this one. I think this is the message, and from that, of course, I wish to thank all attendants of the panel discussion who had been listening to our presentation by our panelists and actively participate in the discussion, send in the questionnaires. I also wish to express our gratitude to the organization who had successfully organized this event in despite of many difficulties. Thank you very much, and I think you had a good time, and I hope this material will be available in the web form, and we can use this material. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for all your contribution. Thank you.
We will log out. digitizers. Can we log out?